Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you guys just give me a few moments, I want to make sure that everything is working fine and then we'll get started, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khair. All right, mic check on YouTube. So we're good on YouTube. I'm going to check Facebook real quick. Okay, so it seems like we're good on Facebook. And last but not least, we'll check Instagram and then we'll get going, inshallah. Last but not least, we'll check Instagram and then we'll get going, inshallah. Okay, so it seems like we're good on Instagram as well. So we'll get started properly, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ridwanullah family. Welcome to a new episode of the Mohamud Show. I'm your host, Life Maximizer and Coach, Hussein Mohamud, working to help you completely maximize your life in this dunya and in the akhirah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Verily, all praise and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, owner, and sustainer, the one who's worthy of all worship without any associates or intermediaries. And may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon the most esteemed leader and most honorable teacher, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, his companions, and those who follow him until the day of judgment. Allahumma ameen. And inshallah, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about TRT, trauma recovery time. This is something that I've been thinking about for a little bit, so hopefully we can shed just a little bit of light on it. But I guess in the meantime, you guys can hit me up at 801-471-6491 with any of your life maximization questions, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, on your life maximization journey. And we'll do the best that we can to help you in that capacity, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So trauma recovery time, there's three words involved: trauma, which is basically going through a very, very painful emotional experience, right? That impacts you internally a lot. Thinking or whatever it may be, but more than likely it's an emotional response. So, with that being said, the recovery time is just how long does it take you to bounce back from something? And the time is, in essence, talking about time-wise, like how many, hours, days, weeks, months, years, decade or so does it take you to recover from trauma? So trauma recovery time is just that. How long does it take you to bounce back from very, very painful situations in your life, right? Whether it's personal and or professional. How long does it actually take you to recover from it? And what can you do to not go back to those situations by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So that's in essence, trauma recovery time. Those who are more resilient or don't even put themselves in a situation where they get trauma in life, they're a little bit easier to get to their goals and resolutions and things of that nature. But those of us who are impacted by trauma, whether it's self-inflicted or not, is something that is something good to keep in mind and really, really think about how that's impacting you in your life and the things that you want to achieve with your life by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, those who are, successful and happy, they either avoid trauma, and if they do get trauma, they bounce back relatively quickly. And for the most part, these are general rules, but for the most part, those who are constantly failing and miserable, they surely get trauma, and they either take a very, very long time to recover, if at all. Some people, unfortunately, never recover from trauma. So if you never recover from trauma, it impacts your life in so many different ways: how you function, how you live, and how you go about your day, and things of that nature. So it's crucial for us to, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, recover from our trauma. Um, and, unfortunately, a lot of these things are generational. So not only do you have to make sure that you are not getting you are recovering from your trauma, you got to make sure that you're not transferring trauma to the next generations, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if all you've gotten is love, then obviously transfer love to the next generation, but make sure that you don't get stuck in that trauma. And that's essentially where it kind of breaks down, and how to go about it by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Um, you know, 801-471-6491 is the direct number to the show. For anybody who's watching now or later, you know that you could reach me at that number either through call, text, or you can comment during the live video, or you could, ask your questions in other message, other ways that is more suitable for you by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, it's important for us to recover from trauma as much as we possibly can, be idhnillahi ta'ala. Depending on how big the trauma is, sometimes it takes that long, if not longer, to recover from it. Sometimes it could have been building over a lifetime. And, it's one of those things where the more you understand, the more you learn, the more you process it, the better things will become by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, you know, one of the things that I was observing is Tom Brady, right? There's a lot of factors for sure, but when he had a rock solid support at home, for the most part, he was able to, not have too much on his mind and just go out there and perform, right? Now, when he started having trouble at home, he wasn't quite himself. You know what I mean? When he was having personal issues. So, those who are going through personal issues, it's not something to take for granted. It is something to really pay attention to it, and resolve it as best as you possibly can, so you could perform better in your profession, as well as vice versa, perform better in your personal life as well. So, assess where what kind of trauma you have, how big of a trauma it is, and how long it'll take you to recover from it, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So inshallah, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us through these trauma situations, and allow us to succeed at the highest level of our endeavors with the ultimate success. Um, and it's definitely a journey. It's definitely a journey. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us through that, and allow us to succeed at the highest level of our endeavors, with the ultimate success, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Just like the other show, I'll keep this short and sweet as well, and I'll end the show here. Jazakumullahu khair, Ridwanullah family, for tuning in to a new episode of the Mohamud Show. I'm your host, Life Maximizer and Coach, Hussein Mohamud, checking out by saying, never ever give up on completely maximizing your life in this dunya and in the akhirah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.